What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. Thank you guys for the support on the last video. If you haven't watched it, please go watch till the end. There's a bit of a message there at the end to everybody. More on that will probably come in a later video. But if you are new here and you love Toronto Maple Leafs talk, especially trade rumors and stuff like that, make sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, but just watching this video and liking it does help a lot. But you guys can see the title. And this has been a topic of conversation literally since the second that the Toronto Maple Leafs were in trouble in Game 7 against the Montreal Canadiens, which, by the way, Habs fans, congratulations on going to the Stanley Cup Final. You've got your hands full with Tampa, but, I mean, I'm pretty sure at this point the underdog story is too good to ignore. But Mitch Marner has been the storyline for Leaf fans, for most Leaf fans, I should say. And it's really unfortunate seeing how Marner came in as the hometown guy, the guy everybody was very excited to watch play. Because if you guys remember, the hype for Austin Matthews was real. Like, it was very real. But the hype for Marner was, like, insane because of where he's from, obviously being from here, basically. Well, from Toronto. I don't live in Toronto. But it just was a different feeling. The way he was putting up points in the OHL, lighting it up there in the Memorial Cup. It's just unfortunate how things have shaked out. And the reason why it's come to this is because of the money that he's getting paid and the production. I think Mitch Marner is overpaid by about $1.5 million. Okay, that's just my opinion. We can talk his contract till we're blue in the face. The contract is signed. The salary cap isn't going up because of what's going on in the world right now. The Leafs couldn't have predicted it. Kyle Dubas couldn't have predicted it. Mitch Marner, his agent, nobody could have predicted it, because at this point, the contract in this conversation wouldn't be as bad if the salary cap was where it was supposed to be at this point, which probably would land the Leafs another really good player with that open space. But now Marner's contract could be a problem, and it's because of no production in the playoffs. But real quick, just look at this. He's 24 years old in, the beginning of that contract, basically. Even though it's half paid off in terms of the money owed to him in total, his salary cap still stays the same. But the big thing here was the 4 points in 7 games played. His career playoff numbers, 25 and 32, which isn't too bad, to be honest with you. But this year was the year that the Leafs really needed his production to go up, because the numbers that he had in the regular season were fantastic. And if you look since he's come into the league, the kid has just been on fire. Babcock was putting him on the fourth line at times. That 18-19 season with 94 points. The 1920 season, 67 and 59. Again, 67 and 55. Like, he is just dynamite. This is the problem. The $10.9 million, that cap hit. Can the Leafs make a trade like this? Now, this is what I'm talking about. His bonuses and stuff like that are huge. He's being paid a very large chunk of the contract. So on July 1st or wherever it's being paid this year, he's getting this $9.6 million. So only the next 3 years only are at 7.2 in terms of what he's actually getting paid, I believe. Oh, no, sorry. The salary here, guys, my mistake. Right over here. These numbers here, the 16, the 15, and the 10. So he's getting paid significantly less in the last 3 years. So he's already gotten the 16, he's already gotten the 15, and now he's getting the 10. Scratch the beginning there. So these 3 numbers, and he's only going to be getting paid this much here, or a little bit less considering what his what his AAV is. But this is what a team would have to have against the salary cap, 10.9, which is quite a bit. Can the Leafs even trade this contract? Obviously, his no-move clause doesn't kick in. But getting back to his point totals, because if you look at this, Marner led the team this regular season in points. So, sure, there's a ton of value to this guy. But then in the playoffs, it disappeared. 4 points in 7 games, Nylander and Kerfoot and Spezza and Matthews. Well, I mean, Matthews, you want more out of him. But Matthews and Marner make that series completely different. You get a goal or two from each of them more, you probably win that series. They were up 3-1, and all they needed was Matthews and Marner to perform. and they didn't get it. So Marner's name is being thrown out there because he didn't perform. He's got a lot of trade value in terms of how he plays. And there's a lot of people saying, oh, like they can't trade his cap hit. They definitely can. They definitely can. But it's just a question of how do you replace that? Because you have to understand, you get rid of a guy that's a 90-point player, one of the top offensive guys in the entire league in the regular season, who could find his way in the playoffs. Like, if what happens, the Leafs trade Marner and the next year he torches it in the playoffs, he just is amazing. Then the Leafs look stupid again. So it's like that potential is there, but he hasn't unlocked it. But he needs to. What do the Leafs get back in a trade like this? Because you have to remember, there's a lot of people on the side of, okay, we've seen enough. We need to trade one of these guys. Marner needs to go because they're not producing. They're not giving us the numbers that they're supposed to in the playoffs. And then the other side is like, okay, but look at all these stars in the league that didn't make the playoffs for 4 or 5 seasons coming into the league. I think I heard something like Paul Correa didn't make the playoffs for the first 6 out of 8 seasons that he played. I could be wrong. I heard that on a radio hit, but it's like some star players just don't get to that opportunity. The Leafs have been playing well enough to have that opportunity for a few years, but they're not getting it done in the first round. There's only certain players that are showing up. And it's sad because Nylander showed up at the right time. Kerfoot showed up at the right time. And those two took a lot of heat. Nylander took a lot of heat for no reason. But Spezza also picked it up. And that guy is going to be 40 soon. He's getting close. So explain to me how you're getting production. And I'm so sorry, but when people said the Leafs didn't get depth scoring, Galchenyuk, 4 points in 6 games. You had Muzzin with 3 and 6 playing amazing until he got injured. TJ Brody, Kerfoot, Spezza. Like, the depth was there. And the secondary scoring with Nylander, he was doing it all by himself. It's like the top 2 guys were the reason why. And Tavares getting injured, like, forget that. Like, obviously, that's a big part of it. But those 2 guys should be able to get it done anyways. In a Marner trade, what do you get back? Do you get picks? No, because the Leafs want to win now. They have to flip those picks, but they're not guaranteed to be able to make that trade. Are you trading for Seth Jones? Probably not. The Leafs' blue line wasn't the problem. You're going to call up Timothy Liljegren. You're going to re-sign Bogosian, and you're going to go from there. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. But, like, the Leafs' defense wasn't the problem. They played very well defensively. They got production from Brody and Muzzin as well. Defensively and offensively. They both looked great. You got Sandin, who had some problems, but he's young. He's building towards that. You're going to bring up Liljegren. Bogosian was solid this season until he got hurt, of course. Riley played amazing in the playoffs. Hall, did his thing. The blue line isn't what you're trading for. The Leafs need to find guys that can play in the season now because it's going to get even tougher this year. They need to find guys that are going to play that heavy style, that are going to be a power forward and going to show up in the playoffs. There's a few guys out there that can fix that problem, but it's not just a simple fix. The Leafs can't just assume they're going to trade Marner and be able to fill those guys up, no problem. And that's what most fans are thinking. I'm also not trading Seth Jones and Mitch. Like, that deal doesn't make sense to me because I would definitely want more from Columbus for sure. But it's like that doesn't fix anything. Jones has been terrible defensively, like brutal. So let me just take you guys over here for a second. We're gonna look at this. So the 81.5 cap stays the same. Let's say Kerfoot gets taken by Seattle. Mitch Marner, oh boy. It wants me to refresh the page. I don't want to. Mitch Marner gets taken or gets traded if it's going to start over. I really hope not. Okay. Mitch Marner gets traded. Kerfoot gets taken by Seattle. You re-sign Spezza, which is there. You re-sign Galchenyuk at 1.2 or maybe less. You re-sign Hyman for 4.9 and maybe not. Maybe you don't even re-sign Zach Hyman. You re-sign Bogosian at 1.2 and you bring up Liljegren. This blue line is still fine to me. I wouldn't move this if you're going to trade Mitch Marner. I wouldn't touch this. You have $17 million to find 2 more forwards, whether they're top guys, which you probably need at least one top guy, or depth. Maybe you get 2 really good players for that price. And by the way, who knows? Maybe Marner gets you a piece that fits into this roster. Maybe he gets you a backup and he gets you a piece here. But the Leafs would have to make some adjustments here. Just calling up Nick Robertson and leaving Engvall and Mikheyev and having Adam Brooks called up and signing Galchenyuk and signing Hyman. This team is worse without Mitch Marner on this roster. You can upgrade this blue line a little bit, but who are you trading? Are you trading Riley? Are you trading Hall? Who are you trading? Because I like this blue line, how they played. Sure, you can make an upgrade, but I like the way they played. You know, Campbell's the starter. Maybe you get a guy like Reimer who can take on a lot of games. But you need to find more scoring. You have to replace 90 points. You have to find guys. Do you trade one of Engvall and Mikheyev and open up a little bit more space and try to acquire 3 really good players? And again, like I said, Marner could fetch you a couple really nice pieces. But what team are you trading with to get those pieces? How do you win the Mitch Marner trade? How do you trade a 90-point guy and get that production back? You have to find ways to get a little bit of everything. You have to find ways to get that grit. You have to find ways to get that power forward, the points, everything. Do you just go into free agency and pick off a couple of the best free agents? Sure, we'll overpay Taylor Hall. Sure, we'll overpay Blake Coleman. But does that just solve everything? I don't know. Honestly, guys, the Leafs won the division. They were up 3-1 in the first round. They got bounced, and now we're wondering if Mitch Marner, Zach Hyman, Morgan Riley, and all these guys are going to be gone. But how, and again, it just comes back to this. How do you win a Mitch Marner trade? Do I think it makes sense? Sure. But you better hope you get guys that can fill that void. At least a couple guys that can fill the depth void. You need a guy that can play physical and score goals, put up points. You need a guy that can make plays and put up points. You have to find a little bit of everything to replace that. And if you lose Zach Hyman as well, like I'm going to take him out of the equation here, although maybe Cap Friendly won't let me do it. Okay, Cap Friendly is not going to let me do it. But anyways, you have a ton of money. But it's just, how do you get those guys? How do you replace it? Do you sign Dougie Hamilton and make that blue line even more of a juggernaut? Do you try to trade for Jack Eichel? Now we're talking crazy. It's very tough to see how the Leafs make this move unless they're getting multiple pieces that can help them now. But what team would want to trade for Mitch Marner and give up multiple good young pieces for right now? Because they want to keep those pieces. This is where it just gets interesting, because the Leafs can't just turn around and ask for picks unless they know they can acquire somebody with those picks. It's very difficult, because you can't look at the head office and go, listen, I know that Mitch Marner was one of the building pieces of this team, but we're just going to get a few picks and hope that we can, trade him or trade these picks off to get a guy that's just as good, or a couple guys that can fill that void. Teams will know. Teams will know that we are in the position where we need it, and they'll go, it's going to take a lot more than that to get these guys. It's a difficult spot to be in. I think the Leafs, what they're trying to do is go, okay, can we find a replacement for Zach Hyman that's going to be a little cheaper? Possibly. Can we find a guy that can be a backup that'll be cheap, that can play 30 games? Maybe. Can we re-sign Bogosian and Galchenyuk? I just mixed their names together, and it was almost a former Islander. I don't know what they can do. The Leafs can be in on everybody. The Leafs can make it seem like they're in on every player that there is. But if they do not replace Mitch Marner with guys that can play up to that level in terms of point production and then show up in the playoffs, the Leafs will take a step back. I'd love to see the Leafs shake it up and do something, but it would take a major overhaul of this roster. It would be a major overhaul. I can get silly and make up a lineup for you guys that's complete after they trade Mitch Marner, or maybe after they don't even sign Hyman. I could come up with something. If you guys want to see it, let me know down below. If you are new here, make sure to like this video and subscribe. I want to hear your thoughts about if the Leafs should trade Mitch Marner. If not, I don't know. Just tell me. Tell me why. Why or why not. I appreciate you guys as always, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video or stream. Peace.